So we're just talking about safeguarding during lockdown version 3. We've done this before, but I think this time it feels a little bit different. I think, within school, talking to other professionals, other parents, things like that, there's a certain anxiety going around within this version 3. I think it was a sort of a pack mentality in the first one or two. This one, I think, is hitting home a little bit more as more people getting infected. So it's just really just a chat through safeguarding to keep it in mind, really. I've got the lighthouse there on the right. And I've just got that schools truly can be guiding lighthouses and safe havens in a sea of uncertainty. So at the moment, lots of people feeling anxious. So it's just keeping on top of that, really, and just making sure safeguarding is prominent in your mind when you're having these conversations and things. So we know in school there's children, all children are different. So some of them will retain their well-being and resilience. It might be that their parents are supportive at home. Others may not be quite as resilient and might need a little bit of help, really. So we just need to make sure we've got our whole school focus of safeguarding in mind, which as always builds relationships between staff and parents and children themselves. Values emotional well-being, so it looks at emotional well-being as an importance. Reaffirms safety and routines, and place importance on learning and growth. So there's a balance really of when you're talking about progress in terms of learning, you also think about mental and emotional well-being as well. So I just want to talk about stress in the context of COVID at the moment. This has got another obvious considerable impact on the children. A loss of control. I think a lot of children, my children as well, went to school on a Monday, and then the Tuesday they woke up and were told they couldn't go to school, and that just got like a rug being whipped out from underneath them. So at the moment, I think parents and adults are feeling a loss of control, so the children feel it as well. They also pick up on these sort of transmittable anxiety from the parents as well. Being frightened, if you listen to the media, like my children sometimes listen to the radio. My middle daughter, she can't stand having the radio on when the news comes on, it really frightens her. It just talks about death numbers and things like that. So it is frightening. They might have somebody in their family that's dying or been ill due to COVID, so they are frightened at the moment. Worried, there's changes in family circumstances that aren't normal. So their parent might have lost a job, money might be tight, their parents might be furloughed, there might be a change in the dynamics at home which they're not used to. So there's a lot of change going on for these children at the moment. And inadequacies around learning in terms of technology. They might not have the technology to access the learning. There might be a guilt around that, but also the actual learning itself. Can they access it? Is it suitable for their abilities? Do they feel they're keeping up with their peers? Are they in school? Are their peers doing different things? So there's lots and lots of anxieties and stresses around children at the moment. That's me smashing my laptop. When there's too much stress and worry for too long, symptoms might emerge of anxiety and low mood of depression. So I just wanted to share some symptoms of anxiety and low mood and depression so you can be sort of aware of these when you're talking to children on the phone or if you're watching Zooms, I know, and in the classroom as well. So it's easier when you see people one-to-one in the classroom or in a group in the classroom, but online it's quite tricky. But anyway, so avoiding things linked to their fears. So if they've got a fear and they're trying to avoid things, it might be a bit of work they've been challenged to, they might be trying to avoid that. Not interacting in class or going the other way and trying to be a perfectionist, worrying about their work. Temper outbursts, just suddenly blowing up for no apparent reason, or just freezing and not knowing what to do. Children complaining of lack of sleep or stomach aches, headaches, or little health things really. People that keep coming up and saying, oh, I've hurt my thumb or I've got a cut on this. Just little things really that build a bigger picture of anxiety. Spending time alone where they used to be quite sociable in school. So if you see a child that used to play with their friends now being on their own, have a look at that. Physically anxious, just being tense, shaky, on the edge, just not being, their normal selves really, having difficulty concentrating. And then we've had some children that are a bit more clingy to adults than they used to be. So it's all these sort of things to be aware of, in school when you're working with children, at home if you're seeing them on Zoom calls. And just, if you need any support on these, let us know and we can help you out. Depression, again, it's linked to anxiety. So it could be quiet and withdrawn. It could be irritable for no apparent reason. Again, keeping away from friends. Self-care is quite a good indicator of low mood and depression, especially in adults. So if you are seeing parents, in the school playground or on Zoom or wherever, and you think there's a bit of deterioration in their own self-care, people with low mood and depression start letting themselves down and then letting everybody else down. So just be careful of that. Again, temper flares, looking tired, poor attendance, and I can't read that last one. Self-harming, okay? So of these I'll talk about a bit later on, but there's more access to the social media platforms. Self-harm is quite prevalent out there, so just be aware of any children. It might just start with rubbing a pen on their, pen on their hand or writing on their hands, but then it could go on to something else. So again, be mindful when you're seeing children, and anything that you're concerned about, obviously pass on. The impact of children at home, at school as well. We don't know what their family makeup is. There might be children in school that we're aware of who have ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. There might be children we're not aware of what goes on at home. So as families are forced together in these lockdown situations, physical abuse becomes on the rise, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, domestic abuse, parental substance abuse, particularly around alcohol, where a parent might just come home at the end of the day and have a glass of wine that just turns into a bottle of wine, and a bottle of wine turns into 2 bottles of wine. It's just keeping an ear out, really, of what the children are saying or how they're reacting and things like that. Mental illness. We deal with a lot more parents with mental illness now than we did, say, a year ago. We have quite a lot of phone calls in our office about parents that are starting to show the cracks of anxiety and stress during the pandemic. So just be mindful of PENS. So it's quite a good acronym, this one. Is it an acronym? Isn't it acrostic? Who knows? So categories of abuse: physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, and sexual abuse. So those are the main categories of abuse to be aware of. In your classrooms at the start of the year, I gave you the NSPCC definitions of signs of child abuse. If you're not sure if what you're seeing is a sign of child abuse or a definition of child abuse, have a look at that document, or obviously speak to me, Liz, Angela, Anthony, Jane, or anybody else who's connected to the Safeguarding Pastoral team. We might be able to help you out. Remember, little things build a bigger picture. So we've got lots of things on different children. It might be a tiny thing in your mind, but if you've got a gut feeling that something's not quite right, do pass it on to us. Consider also home learning as a greater opportunity for children to be unsupervised on laptops or on their iPads for access to social media platforms and the internet. And they can obviously do more online bullying. They're going to be more in contact with their friends and other people using social media. Radicalisation. People that are at home a bit bored might think, oh, I've heard of this word ISIS or whoever they're thinking of. Type it in and all of a sudden you've got people grooming them to be a radical. Inappropriate material. Again, you just need to type in a couple of words and all sorts of things turn up. This is Peppa Pig with a knife covered in blood. You don't know what's going to pop up if little people, even youngsters, reception children, type in a word. You don't know what's going to pop up. So it's just keeping an eye on those children who might be using, the internet within school or at home. Things they say, things they're playing on. Are they playing on Gran Turismo? Are they doing games that aren't appropriate? Are they watching things that aren't appropriate? So again, keep an eye on it. Pass it on. So stay alert. Apply the whole school safeguard approach. It could happen here. We've seen all sorts of things you'd never think would happen in Bournemouth come through this office. All things that you think won't happen in this school come through this office. So just be mindful that it could happen here. Speak with parents and carers. Ensure everyone works together. It's a collaborative approach. If we're going to safeguard children, we need to have parents on board. So you just need to work together and with the pastoral and safeguarding team. And the message really is to stay alert during conversations, your video calls, your phone calls, anything you've got concern. Don't worry if it sounds silly, just pass it on to me, Liz, Angela. Any child that's not completing their work, they're not answering calls, they're not booking or turning up for Zoom meetings, let us know. We've got a little list now going, a spreadsheet going now, children that aren't in contact with school, and we've been doing home visits to make sure we can have sight of them. If we can't find them, we do a phone call after you've let us know that they're not in contact with school. We do an email, and then we do a home visit, and after that, they're a child missing in education. So that's where we're going at the moment, or contact social services to see if they can browse them and see if we can get some sort of sighted visit on them. Lastly, the yellow folders. If you're in class, obviously if you're at home, you need to email in any concerns or phone us with any concerns. If you're in a class, if you could get the yellow folders for that year group in your class, and then record anything for their pupil in their individual yellow folder, so it's in the correct class, and then Liz will collect them in on Fridays as usual, so we can keep a record of who's doing what and what's going on in classes. And as always, incidents, concerns of a child being at significant risk just needs to be passed on immediately. So just come and see us, drop us an email, phone us, come and see us, and we'll get that sorted straight away. We had one yesterday where something happened, one of the children and his parents, it came in and we referred it to social services within the hour. Again, signposting, we do a lot of signposting to parents. We've got a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of agencies we know where to go to for different problems. We can signpost parent support, children support, different agencies like Children's Social Services, NSPCC, Barnardo's, all different things we can use to support parents at early help level or into the statutory levels, child in need, child protection levels. And then ultimately this is our goal. So it's standing together to make a difference, building relationships, getting the children and the parents habits of resilience, and also being able to make change happen. So if something's not going right, knowing what to do to put it right. That's the end of the lesson.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Nick. That is so important. And that spreadsheet that we're all sharing now is ultimately really important for us to get a picture of who's engaging and who we need to look at from a safeguarding perspective. Okay, Rich, over to you.